Shalom, shalom. This is your brother, Kadar Bun of GMS Gulf Coast. I'd like to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahak, Kadash. Double honors are given unto the apostles, elders of Great Millstone, men who have suffered and labored in this truth for over 30 plus years, making their lives and their bodies a living sacrifice. I also like to send a shalom to the various GMS camps, heads of those camps, elders. I also like to send a shalom to the hopefully elect, the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, the speckled bird that is scattered throughout the four winds of planet Earth, north, south, east, and west. Also, I'd like to send a shalom to any of you Akim that are out on the highways and hedges, not named GMS, but walk in one body, one spirit in Yahweh Shai with this 100% truth, with truth and sincerity of the scriptures. To you all, shalom. Lord willing, this video, this lesson be edifying to feed the lambs of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Having said that, this is nightly news full broadcast for February the 12th, 2022. This video that I'm about to show, if you have any cable provider, Cox, Sparklight, whomever it may be, you can go and find this in today's broadcast. So I'm reassuring all that watch this or who monitor this behind secret doors. I am not in no way, shape, form, or fashion profiting from this. This is world news, and anyone could go to any media platform, especially like I said, if you have a cable provider or internet service, and pull this up. So, under the Freedom of Information Act, just using this just to edify, or rather to educate. Having said that, let's move on. Nightly news. Now, we're going to get into this, and there are going to be a few things said, and you're going to get the notion that the so-called misunderstanding, notice how I said the so-called misunderstanding between Russia, NATO, and the U.S., which is caught in the middle of all this, is the state of Ukraine. The truth or the details of the matter is starting to leak out. Put it like that. It's hard to say what's true with these people, but some of the things that they're going to bring forth, I had already documented, or rather put on film for record's sake, about Ukraine, the former Soviet Union, and now today Russia, not wanting, after the Berlin Wall was taken down in the late 80s, early 90s, of how Russia, the USSR, and the United States made an agreement that the U.S. nor NATO would make any moves toward the East or to gather any more of the countries that in the East that used to be the former USSR, Soviet Union, would not be pressured to join NATO. And in this newscast, that's going to be brought up. That's the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. He causes these devils to speak the truth. And they can, and unknowingly to the audience that watches MSNBC News, Fox News, CNN, and any of these other mainstream news platforms, these news platforms can bring you a level of truth when the audience, by and large, is ignorant to the details. So, unbeknownst to the audience, these news outlets bring some level of the truth, but being that the people are so ignorant, or so deeply ignorant, meaning not knowing of factual information, have not done the proper research to see what's actually going on or get a sense of what's actually going on versus letting them tell you, because by letting them tell you, they control the narrative and they put what you call talking points into the minds or in the mouths of the people who watch this without any fact check. But having said that, let me not keep rambling and let's let Jose Ballard speak.
Biden warns Vladimir Putin directly not to invade Ukraine. The two in a high-stakes hour-long phone call today. What the president threatened to do if Russia moved in, as the State Department orders most of its embassy staff in Ukraine and members of the National Guard to get out now.
A Russian invasion could start at any time.
Standoff at the bridge. Police move in on the truckers blocking a key border crossing between the U.S. and Canada. The 18-wheelers move out, but more protesters pour in. What it means for reopening the bridge. While in the U.S., the Department of Homeland Security deploys agents to prepare for possible protests here. Masks off. Walmart, the nation's largest private employer, ends.
Preparing for possible protests here in mainland United States. Keep that in mind.
Mask mandate for workers.
This is NBC Nightly News with Jose Diaz-Balart.
Good evening. If Vladimir Putin has set Russia on a march to war with Ukraine, the pace seemingly quickened today. The U.S. is now warning an invasion could come at any moment.
Now, mind you, look how they come out and state everything. If Vladimir Putin is making a statement, is making as well as listen here, say it again.
Good evening. If Vladimir Putin has set Russia on a march to war with Ukraine, the pace.
If Vladimir Putin has made a pace to war with Ukraine, the pace has picked up. Now, mind you, this is coming from MSNBC anchorman, or rather from the mouth of the people who rule America. So you're only going to get one side of the argument, you know. But as they go into the newscast, deep into this news broadcast, they're going to put it out as why is Putin doing this, and you know they're gonna set things in a questionable setting. Why is Putin them doing this? Why you know? But at the same time, trying to keep the finger pointed at Putin. If I'm making any sense, let's just let it play.
Seemingly quickened today. The U.S. is now warning an invasion could come at any moment. The State Department has ordered most of its embassy personnel to get out now. And officials today said the time for Americans to flee the country isn't now. It's already passed. That is the backdrop against which Presidents Biden and Putin spoke on the phone today for over an hour. Biden warned that there will be severe consequences if Russia moves in. Putin made demands the U.S. has already said it will never meet. Josh Letterman starts us off tonight from the White House.
Tonight, after President Biden's one-hour phone call with Vladimir Putin, the White House says a Russian war in Ukraine is still a distinct possibility. The White House saying the midday exchange from Camp David resulted in no fundamental change, insisting Putin may still invade at any moment, and threatening swift and severe costs if he does. The Kremlin accusing the U.S. of whipping up unprecedented hysteria and repeating Russia's list of demands, such as barring Ukraine from NATO, a non-starter for the U.S. Today, most of the U.S. embassy in Kyiv shutting down, U.S. diplomats evacuating. NBC's Aaron McLaughlin outside the embassy.
Did you hear that? Barring Ukraine to join NATO, which is a non-starter for the U.S. In other words, war between the U.S. and Russia is imminent. It's going to happen. I say not imminent, but inevitable. Slakia. That was a bad choice of words. It's inevitable. First and foremost, we know it because it's prophecy. Second of all, this proud nation, so-called America, Babylon the Great, is going to make good on her treachery. Let's hear it one more time.
The midday exchange from Camp David resulted in no fundamental change, insisting Putin may still invade at any moment and threatening swift and severe costs if he does. The Kremlin accusing the U.S. of whipping up unprecedented hysteria and repeating Russia's list of demands, such as barring Ukraine from NATO, a non-starter for the U.S. Today, most of the U.S. embassy in Kyiv shutting down, U.S. diplomats evacuating. NBC's Aaron McLaughlin outside the embassy compound.
All but a small core group of American staffers will evacuate the country. The U.S. warning any Americans planning to stay behind, they cannot get them out, and they cannot guarantee their safety.
The Pentagon ordering 160 Florida National Guard trainers out of Ukraine tonight. But Ukraine's President Zelensky urging his citizens to stay calm, openly disagreeing with the U.S. that an invasion...
Aha. Openly disagreeing with the U.S. Hey, I did a video a few days back about this. Look at the mannerisms of the U.S. and their heads of states. Heads of the Secretary of Pentagon, Secretary of Defense, the Biden administration top players. Look at their body language versus the body languages of the axis of evil. Quote unquote, Russia, China, and whatnot. Look like cool, calm, collective men. And I don't have a dog in the race. Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is going to destroy both of these nations and bring them into subjugation, ultimately getting rid of the Edomite nation, which the Russians share the nationality of so-called white man. But that's for a future day. Now, point being is that someone here is misleading or trying to whip up hysteria, just like, the Kremlin is accusing the U.S. of whipping up hysteria, you understand? As though this shit gonna pop off tomorrow. Slocky didn't mean to use the harsh language. As though this whole ordeal is gonna pop off tomorrow, next week, you understand? And it may very well be the case, but I highly disagree with tomorrow type of format, because there's things that's going to happen that's going to have to happen before that happens, you understand? And we're going to see evidence of that as the video plays on.
Is imminent.
The truth that we have different.
NBC's Aaron McLaughlin outside the embassy compound.
All but a small core group of American staffers will evacuate the country. The U.S. warning any Americans planning to stay behind, they cannot get them out, and they cannot guarantee their safety.
The Pentagon ordering 160 Florida National Guard trainers out of Ukraine tonight. But Ukraine's President Zelensky urging his citizens to stay calm, openly disagreeing with the U.S. that an invasion is imminent.
The truth that we have different information. And now, the best friend for enemies, that is panic in our country.
Tonight, an all-out diplomatic push to avoid war. French President Emmanuel Macron today spoke at length with Zelensky and Putin, while Secretary of State Antony Blinken again urged Russia to de-escalate.
If Russia is genuinely interested in resolving this crisis of its own making through diplomacy and dialogue, we're prepared to do that. So far, we've only seen escalation.
Russia mounting an ongoing show of military force near Ukraine, staging naval drills in the Black Sea. But this resident of a town near Russian-occupied Crimea says he has friends on the other side of the border and doesn't believe Russia will attack. In Ukraine tonight, the calm before the storm, with many Ukrainians believing and praying that no storm is coming.
And Josh Letterman's at the White House. Josh, do we know when the two leaders will speak again?
Well, there's nothing planned, but both sides say their teams will stay in touch. The Russians are also finalizing a written response to the most recent diplomatic offer from the U.S. Jose?
Josh Letterman at...
Now, but when you talk to the people on the ground, hey, look, man, I don't believe Russia going to do this. I don't believe Russia going to do that. And this is Ukrainian citizens formerly under the red banner of the USSR. Even the Ukrainian president is actually, how should I put it? It's contradicting what the U.S. is saying. And then you got Germany and Russia, not Germany, but Germany, not Germany, Slovakia. France, well, Germany is as well, but we see the French president, you know, actually standing as a go-between Russia and NATO and the U.S. So it looks as though that all the so-called friends of the United States are just not jumping heads over heels on board with this whore, aka America. They're not just jumping on board because they understand the treachery and the lies and the deceitful, the underhand and backhand deals that went on behind closed doors throughout the whole existence of America. This place is if not the most wicked place on the face of the earth. This place, America, where anything goes, you know, anything goes, and the top tier, they are top tier hypocrites. You know, look at these commercials. You know, back 10 years back, you know, if you were diagnosed with the AIDS virus and you willingly, knowingly knew and laid down with someone, the person infected with AIDS, knowingly, knew this and laid down with someone, and the person you laid down with contracted the disease, you know that you could be held, could be arrested for attempted murder. That was not too long ago, 10, 15 years, I know it best, 10, 15 years ago. Now they have come up with medication that can lower the detection of the AIDS virus, and they got commercials, advertising it, for the sale of that medicine. What happened to that law? You understand? These people America is top tier hypocrites. Top tier. They'll make laws and turn around and break their own laws, you understand, and hold you accountable if you do so. And that's why you see France, Germany, even Great Britain to a certain degree, when they broke off with Brexit, Slovakia, they breaking from this place because this place right here is full of lies, deceit. They have even swindled their own friends, so-called friends. Backdoor deals with the Aussies to beat the French out of a submarine deal. Then you're gonna turn around and ask these folks for help. They have a long history of this.
White House, thank you. We're going to take a moment to try to answer an important question. Why is this happening now? Why is Vladimir Putin risking the deaths of his own soldiers and the likely crippling of his economy from sanctions by invading Ukraine? Like so many global conflicts, this one is rooted in history, geography, and personal ego.
Now, check this out, because I went in on this about 4 or 5 videos back about Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev and the bringing down of the Berlin Wall, G8 summit, and how it was not on paper but a handshake agreement that none of the countries of the USSR or the former Soviet Union would join with NATO. And they're going to bring this point up. You understand? They're going to bring this point up. That's why I say this place ain't nothing but a lie. These people, these men that rule this land over here, they are bona fide liars. They can't tell the truth if a gun was put up to their head and their life was on the line.
For years, Vladimir Putin has complained the U.S. and West have lied to Russia and have forced him to take action. You promised us in the 1990s that NATO would not move an inch to the east, he said just weeks ago. You cheated us shamelessly. Michael McFaul is the former U.S. ambassador to Russia. Putin has said the West, the United States, is provoking us, provoking me.
That's ridiculous. Let's be clear. Nobody's provoking Putin.
That's one of those senator's laughs, you know what I'm saying? That's ridiculous, yeah. That's one of those line laughs.
How Europe was aligned at the peak of the Cold War, split between willing NATO allies in blue to the west, and in red, countries that the Soviet Union used brutal force to keep in line with them. But when the Soviet Union fell, These Eastern European countries, now free, aligned with the U.S. and NATO. Russia's sphere of influence and its geographic buffer against NATO now shrunk considerably. 5 NATO countries even...
You see that? You see how those countries changed from red to blue? You see that? That was the unspoken agreement, the handshake between Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev in '89. And the only one that's left standing is Ukraine. And Russia say, God damn it, we're going to hell and back for that. No.
Border Russia, and many now host U.S. military bases. And Ukraine, it sits here, almost alone between Russia and the West.
Too many people are believing that this is somehow about NATO expansion when it's really about an unprovoked military invasion should Putin decide to go in.
Many are wondering why Ukraine and why now?
Well, why now? I think because President Putin has been obsessed with bringing Ukraine back into subjugation to Russia. Putin believes that the Slavic nation, of which he considers Russians and Ukrainians to be part of a single nation, was unfairly and incorrectly broken up during the collapse of the Soviet Union, 1991.
A full-scale invasion would likely be the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II. And it could likely destabilize international markets. On Friday, as tensions rose, the S&P 500 plunged nearly 2%. That's a drop of $2,500 for the average American's 401k. And with Russia, a huge provider...
1991.
A full-scale invasion...
Check this out. For you Bitcoin investors. And I'm not speaking to the 1/3. I'm speaking to any one of you 2/3 that may stumble across this video. Lord willing, you do. Look at that. Although it's going to go undeterred, you're going to go on undeterred, you're going to still believe into the society and whatnot, so forth, so on. But for those who see what's coming down the pipe, look at the money.
Likely be the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II. And it could likely destabilize international markets. On Friday, as tensions rose, the S&P 500 plunged nearly 2%. That's a drop of $2,500 for the average American's 401k. And with Russia, a huge provider of oil to the world, gas prices are likely to go higher. They've already hit their highest level in 8 years.
I think the mistake we make in the West sometimes is we think that Putin's some kind of rational actor calculating the cost-benefit analysis of invasion, when in fact he's thinking about his place in the history books 50 years from now.
That's projection. The mistake that the West is making is that Putin is rational. And that may be true. But the fact of the matter is, he spoke truth to light. You so-called white people, you are not rational. Not just Putin, you are as well. You understand? And that's the big deception that they like to cast over all of the people. They like to speak smooth and soft and democratically and whatnot. But behind that is knives, guns, poison, death and deceit. They're not rational whatsoever.
And one more note. Some have wondered why we're pronouncing Ukraine's capital as Kyiv instead of Kiev. That's because Kyiv is how Ukrainians say it. Kiev is how Russians say it. In Canada, the police moved in on those truckers who have been blocking a major shipping route to the U.S. The truckers left, but the protesters are not over, and the bridge is not yet open. Now there are concerns similar protests may happen here. Cal Perry is at the bridge in Windsor, Canada.
Let's talk about what is professional today.
I've been a janitor, I've been a designer, I've been an executive.
Creating my own seat at the table was doing things different.
There's work, and there's what works for you.
Professional is you, professional is us.
It's ours to define.
The horns blared, and the chants were defiant.
Freedom!
Freedom! And while the trucks are now gone from the so-called Freedom Convoy in Windsor, Ontario, protesters are still blocking access to the bridge used to transport hundreds of millions of dollars worth of goods between the U.S. and Canada each day.
I'm unvaccinated. I can't even eat at McDonald's.
Hundreds of demonstrators, including truck drivers, are protesting vaccine mandates. After a Friday night court order for protesters to disband, today, police moved in. With the busiest land crossing in North America shut for nearly a week, trade was severely disrupted. And it seems like this show of force was exactly what leaders on both sides of the border wanted. Even though police have pushed them back, protesters here are still declaring victory.
It's gone global, so actually we represent a peaceful movement globally.
In Paris, a copycat demonstration led to a more forceful response. Police deployed tear gas and removed protesters blocking traffic on the Champs-Élysées. And Canadian demonstrators say the U.S. should prepare for similar scenes.
I bet you $1 that freedom is contagious. Super Bowl Sunday, they will be heading out of LA, heading to DC.
Ahead of tomorrow's Super Bowl in Los Angeles, the White House says it's surging additional Department of Homeland Security staff to California in anticipation of a possible convoy protest timed to the game. In Ottawa, Canada's capital, what police called, quote, unlawful occupation led to dozens of arrests as well as backlash.
This is not about freedom. This is a right-wing movement to seize power.
And Cal Perry is joining us.
These things are happening. These things are happening. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to read a little something here from my apocrypha. This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 1, and it reads, Woe be unto Babylon and Asia, woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. Verse 2, gird up yourselves with cloth of sack and hair, bewail your children, and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. All over the planet, this place has went about, because you seen that embassy there in what was that, Ukraine, the whore is set up on many waters, and people consider this water as well. You're born through your mother's birth canal, and when she gives birth to you, her water breaks. All living things come through the water, so this place, America, is representative of all the different people, and our embassies are set up in damn near all the countries of planet Earth, all except for a couple of 2 or 3. It says it's like a sword is sent among you, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? None of that is going to happen. You're not driving anything away. Now, I want to jump real quick. Let's go to verse 70, and it reads, For there shall be in every place and the next city a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like bad men, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. It's like those who fear the Lord. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Now, these things are going to happen before this war kicks off. You understand? So, that's where you heard me make the statement that, they speak as though, it's going to be next week, tomorrow, next month, and maybe so, but, I highly doubt that, because other things that's going to have to come into play. And there was great insurrections and cities being locked down and getting city to city and things of that nature there. That has to come into play first and foremost. First and foremost. I want to read one more real quick. 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, and this is basically saying the same thing, 15 and 16, and it reads, For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And a man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able, for because of the pride of the city, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. These things have not happened yet. But thus they saying that the war, they speak in the United States is really amping this up. Really amping this up. The time of this place has seen its glorious days come and gone. The toilet has been flushed, and this place is circling and draining. Real quick, I want to go to Jeremiah 50 and verse 12. Real quick. I ain't got too much battery life. This is listen to this here. This is Jeremiah 50, and I'm going to start at verse 10. No, I'm going to start at verse 9. For lo, I will rise and cause to come let me start over. Jeremiah 50 and verse 9, and it reads, For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. That's why you can't get France and Germany, and to this point, Britain. You can't get them all on the same page saying the same thing. And the scripture said, I think it's Amos 3:3, can two walk together unless they be agreed? So these people are all in a disarray. And that's the further proof of America, or Babylon the Great. Destruction is near. And it reads, From thence she shall be taken. The arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. So once this pop off, when it pop off, it's going to pop off. And it ain't nothing going to turn around. Once they get popped off, when they get shot off, they're going to hit their mark. And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoiled her shall be satisfied, saith the Lord. And this place right here is likened on to these wicked kingdoms that came before America. Because America is an amalgamation of all the wicked kingdoms beforehand. The Roman Empire revised, taking a little bit from here and a little bit from there and putting it into her makeup, her infrastructure, and calling it America. Verse 11, it says, Because you were glad, because ye rejoice, O ye destroyers of my heritage. And that's talking about us so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. You understand? You Israelites. Come over here and built this place up for free. Being sold on auction blocks right up there at the stock market or Wall Street. This place was the money man, the money land at one time. Now it ain't become nothing but a place where you consume, you buy goods. You don't make them no more and ship them to the world. Now you have to buy them. It says, Because ye were glad, because ye rejoice, O ye destroyers of my heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass and bellow as bulls. Verse 12, this is going into these mother nations that spun this place, in particular Great Britain. You understand? It says, Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nation shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. And this is what this place is going to be when the Most High get finished with it. But not just yet, because you still have to have the uprising of the people. You still have to have these cities rising up against their kings and their princesses. There's things that's got to happen beforehand. We getting there. I'm going to close out with this here. We're getting there. So we're not going to let what these public officials say, for the most part, we're just filtering it by way of the scriptures, where we at this particular time. But they skipping over that because they want to keep the people docile for as long as they can, until you scream bloody war, bloody war. Yeah, war's on the horizon, and it can't be averted. But there's still things that have to be happening, that have to come about. This ratchet white man, this Esau Edom, which is his biblical nationality, he has to make another move, a strategic move, And he's trying to blind you with the war effort. He's trying to get you on board with what he's got to push before the war effort is complete. Then you can expect war. Once he's done all that he can do to convince you otherwise, he's going to force you to do other, for the rest of the way. Then the people going to act up, going to boot up. Because you seen those protesters, they were Edomites. I've been vaccinated and can't go in this McDonald's. Yeah, they're getting fed up. But once that kick off, and once the kings that hide behind in secret, once they make their moves and tell they sock puppets, these heads of state, these politicians to do what they've been paid to do, all hell breaks loose, then you can expect for the arrows to be shot. But not until these things happen. This is Isaiah 31, and I'll start at the top, and it reads, woe to them. It says, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help. Let's see. Is this it? No, this ain't it. No. No. This ain't it. It's like it. This ain't it. I think it's 13. I think it's 13. It's like it real quick. Lock it real quick. Cause see now, America wants to act like she's good now. Been spoiling, going all around the world, spoiling and destroying and lying and deceiving and backhand dealing and all that now. Now your so-called friends, you know what I'm saying, they dragging their feet coming to the table, giving you backup, trying to, as to back you up. And you're kind of nervous now, America. Anyway, Isaiah 33, and start at the top, it says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled, and dealtest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee, you wicked ass Americans, you wicked ass so-called white folks, Esau, Edom, who are headquartered out of the strong-arm military and prison states of America. Your reward is going to come on top of your head. All that you done went around doing and maiming and killing and lying and scheming and anyway. Woe to thee that spoileth, and thou was not spoiled, and dealtest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, now you want to stop. You done too much to stop. Thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. Verse 2, O Lord Yahweh, be gracious unto us. And that's talking about the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Not you so-called Christians that go fishing and don't worry about what. I leave that in the hands of the Lord. I ain't got to do nothing but put my faith and trust in Jesus Christ. No, it's not talking about you, because you are not out here doing no kind of work. You're not out here calling these heathen nations out on their treachery, and for most importantly, you're not rebuking and reproving your own people, huh? So it's not talking about you when it say us. So don't get it mistaken. It's talking about 1/3 of the nation of Israel. Because 2/3 of you niggas, spiggers, and tontos are going to get just what these other nations are going to get. O Lord, Yahweh, be gracious unto us. We have waited for thee. Be thou their arm every morning, our salvation also in the time of trouble. See, in the time of trouble. It's trouble that's going to come before all our war kicks out. It's going to be trouble. Men invading houses, ravishing women. Go look that word up. All of that's going to be happening. Mothers and daughters. And some of you feminine men. It's going to get real downright dirty out here. Where your Lord going to be then? And it reads, verse 3, at the noise of the tumult of the people. And that's that confused noise, that violent uprising of the people. It says, at the noise of the tumult, the people flee. At the lifting of thyself, the nations were scattered. All of them going to return back to their own land eventually. They're getting the hell up out of America. And your spoil shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar, as the running to and fro of locusts shall he run upon them. Verse 5, it says, the Lord Yahweh is exalted, for he dwelleth on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness, with judgment and righteousness. And listen, that judgment and righteousness to that memorial of Israel is talking about the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. He got to get the righteous ones up out of here. You 2/3 eating them damn pork chop sandwich packs, them barbecue rib snack packs, running around here, calling folks fools and cult members. You're going to be held responsible for all those idle words that you say against the Lord's servants. Because unbeknownst to you, that is the Lord speaking to you through his servants. And you have taken this personal, and the Lord is going to take it personal when it comes to dealing with you. Verse 6, but for the righteousness, check this out. And verse 6, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is his treasure. And that's talking about the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. There's hope after all. Only for the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. There's hope after all. Only for the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. Let me say that one more time for understanding. There is hope after all. Only for the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. Lord willing, this was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, in his only begotten Son's name, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles, elders of Great Millstone. Shalom.